The September 2013 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Legislators, please take your seats. Will the clerk please call the roll?
President Adair.
Here.
Mr. Ansello. Miss Andrews. Mr. Antelli. Mr. Barker. Mr. Baroth. Miss Boyce. Dr. Carbone. Mr. Colby. Mr. Daniele. Mrs. Draw. Mr. Gamble. Mr. Gamina. Mr. Haney. Mr. Hanna. Mr. Howland. Miss Kaylee. Mr. John Lightfoot is excused. Mr. Willie Lightfoot. Mr. McCann. Mr. Michike. Mr. Morelli. Mr. Patterson is excused. Dr. Quattro. Mr. Rocco. Mr. Tucciarello. Mrs. Valerio. Mr. Wilcox. Mr. Yolovich.
Please stay seated at this time, and I would like to have a moment of silent prayer. Legislator Fred Ansell will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Legislator Ansell. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. At this time, I would ask that you please, I would ask you to please stand. Without objection, we are going to take agenda item number 17 out of regular order. Agenda item number 17 is moved by Mr. Tucciarello and seconded by Ms. Andrews. Will the clerk please read the resolution and memorial for Lillian LaRosa, mother of legislator John Howland?
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Lillian LaRosa. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deep sympathy at the recent passing of Lillian LaRosa Howland Zuber, mother of legislator John Howland. And whereas Lillian passed away at the age of 96 on Saturday, August 26, 2013. And whereas Lillian was a graduate of Pittsford Central School and the Genesee Hospital School of Nursing. Before her death, Lillian was the oldest living graduate of Genesee Hospital School of Nursing, and after working in a hospital and moving to the Midwest with her husband Charles, an Army Air Force soldier in World War II, Lillian and Charles purchased and operated the family farm in Mendon. And whereas she and her family moved to Avon in 1954, where she owned and operated the Avon Hotel and transformed it into a proprietary home for the elderly. She was known to her family as a loving mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother who enjoyed volunteering at the Penn Yan Nursing Home, always wanting to help others. And whereas she is predeceased by her husbands, Charles Howland and Philip LaRosa, son Robert Howland, and brother Edward Schneider, Lillian is survived by her children, Judy Graydon Webster, John Terry Close Howland, Cynthia Richard Shefflin, Leland Janelle Howland, her sister Vivian Plimto, 16 grandchildren, 16 great-grandchildren, many nieces and nephews, and many dear friends. And whereas Lillian is remembered by her family and friends as a sweet woman who enjoyed playing cards, gardening, needlework, traveling, and reading. She always put others' needs before her own and will be missed dearly by her friends and family. And be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Legislators, you've received a copy of the Journal of Day 10, August 13, 2013. Without exception, the journal stands approved as submitted. There's a hearing loop in place tonight to assist those who are hearing impaired. Anyone requiring assistance should inquire at the clerk's office.
If you have a cellular phone, pager, or other electronic device in your possession, we would request that you make them inaudible for the duration of the meeting, and we thank you for your cooperation.
Legislators, the referrals submitted for the legislative cycle for the next committee cycle are in your folders. And now it is my great privilege and honor to introduce from our Parks Department, Mr. Mark Quinn, who will now introduce to us the plant of the month.
Good evening. Thank you. Plant of the month, as you can see up front, is sedum. Sedum is a perennial. It has fleshy leaves, so it actually holds a lot of water. This plant does particularly well in dry environments. It's a very, very tough plant. Once you have it established, it's a very, very nice plant. It comes from a large family of plants. There's over 600 species of sedum. I'll talk primarily about the ones that are blooming in the fall right now. This is autumn joy. It's one of the most common perennials in the garden. You'll see them all over the place. This plant will bloom almost clean through clean through November at this point until the frost finally knocks it down. And even then, the flower heads will stay erect through the winter and provide some winter interest. They're very, very easy to grow. They just like a lot of sun. You can make them reproduce by dividing them in the spring or using a cutting about this size and rooting the cutting. So they're very easy to get new plants. They're a very beautiful plant. They make nice cut flowers. They attract butterflies and birds and a lot of bees. Interestingly, they're not that fragrant, or I don't find them fragrant, but the bees are all over them this time of year. I think as much as anything because the bees don't have a lot of other food sources late into the fall. So it's a very good plant for honeybees if you like your honeybees, and we tend to like our honeybees in the horticulture business. Anyway, it's a very beautiful plant. There's a lot of different varieties of them, and they're easy to get this time of year, and they're really beautiful through the late fall. Thank you.
Thank you. This evening, I believe we have a proclamation scheduled. Madam Clerk.
Would the Rush Henrietta Athletic Association U8 Hitmen baseball team please come forward? Also, President Jeffrey R. Adair and legislators Carla F. Boyce and John J. Howland. Whereas this summer, the Rush Henrietta Athletic Association U8 Hitmen solidified their position as the top-ranked team in the Lou Gehrig Iron Horse Tournament that took place in Amherst, New York. The RHAA U8 Hitmen, led by Coach Sean Hodgman, finished by winning all 3 games of the round-robin portion of the tournament. And whereas the Hitmen have displayed their talent all season long with guidance coming from Coach Hodgman. During the tournament, the Hitmen played resilient defense and only allowed 5 total runs. While on offense, the Hitmen managed to get a total of 30 runs within their 3-game round robin. And whereas, comprised of the best 7- and 8-year-olds in the Rush Henrietta communities, the U8 Hitmen showed their tough work by rising to the challenge and facing off against Western New York's best U8 teams. And whereas the dedication and talent this team has shown throughout its season is admirable. Each team member put forth a tremendous effort which led to their great achievement. These young athletes have a bright future ahead. Monroe County is proud to have such a successful team representing our community. Now therefore we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, Carla F. Boyce, Legislator District 5, and John J. Howland, Legislator District 13, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Rush Henrietta Athletic Association U8 Hitmen baseball team on clinching top seed at the Lou Gehrig Iron Horse Tournament. Congratulations.
I'm one of the assistant coaches for the team. My name is Tobin Forrett. When the head coach, Sean, told me that we were going to go to Buffalo to play in a tournament with 20 teams from all over New York State, I said to him, are you sure this is a good idea? And it turned out to be a great idea, because when we took the kids there, we were up against some of the best teams from around. But more than that, we were facing a pitching machine which actually throws a real baseball about 40 miles an hour. Most of these kids are used to a softer baseball that throws at about 25. Now, that doesn't sound like a big difference to you, but when you're 7 and 8, that's a big difference. These kids played phenomenally. The confidence they displayed, the pride they showed on the field. They won their games, but they handled themselves like gentlemen, and we couldn't have been more proud as an organization. So on behalf of the rest of the coaches, President Adair, this is a great honor. Thank you very much. We've never had anything like this happen to us before, so this is just amazing. So thank you so much.
Remember, guys, this is the picture time. Picture time. See you guys. Bye, guys. Take care. Win it next year. Come back next year. Win it next year. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, I'm sorry. At this time, I would like to introduce Steve Lauzine from the New York State Office of Real Property Tax Services, Western Region Office. He is here tonight to talk to us about the STAR program. Steve, the floor is yours.
Hi, thanks. This year in the legislation, the state legislature authorized a re-registration for the STAR program. So most of you should have got a letter in the mail already. The letter was for basic STAR only. It does not affect the enhanced or older people who have an income limit on theirs. Theirs is still handled the same way it always has. That's the most important thing. The legislation enacted this year requires all homeowners receiving the basic STAR to re-register this year. The problem was the comptroller's office did a study a couple of years ago, and they think there could be up to $2.5 million worth of illegal STAR exemptions out there. Probably most of them were from the early part of the program when the rules were a little laxer, so they came up with a plan to re-register everybody for STAR. Most of you have got your mailing. The process was pretty straightforward. Our office collected assessment rolls from every town, city this year. We assigned a unique code to everybody, and starting at the end of August in the central region of the state, we started the mailing. Our mailing went out the very end of August, and most everybody in our area, which is all of Western New York, got theirs by the end of last week. So pretty much everybody now should have theirs. If you have not got your letter, the easiest way to register is to go to the website, which is just www.tax.ny.gov. You can do everything you need from right there. It's really pretty easy. The online registration process, you will enter all the property owners with their names and social security numbers. You have to tell if it's your primary residence, which is one of the requirements. Do you have property in another state? If you do, that could be your residence, so that's a requirement. And the other thing that it requires is you to state that you do not have a adjusted gross income of more than $500,000. If your adjusted gross income is more than $500,000, you also do not qualify for the basic STAR program. It then asks for contact information. You certify that everything's correct. That's all there is to it. So it's a pretty easy process. The dates, everything is being mailed out between now and August 4th. There's 2.6 million people receiving the Basic STAR program, and they started in upstate New York and are working their way down. So it's going to be another month or so before everybody gets their mailing. For those that do not register, which there will be some, a second reminder will be sent out sometime in December. The deadline is December 31st. So if you have not registered by sometime end of December, the first part of the year, you will be in, you could lose your exemption. The final notifications will go to the assessors to remove anybody that has not reapplied by March 1st. If you're denied, there's an appeal process that goes right back to the Department of Tax and Finance, and there's also another appeal process through the State Board of Real Property Tax Services. There's nothing your local assessor really has to do with this, other than they are the first contact of all taxpayers. So they're getting a lot of business right now. Every office I'm in, people are coming in to pay their taxes, and they come in to ask about their STAR renewal. So you can look up your, if you don't get the letter, you can look up your code on the website. There's a phone number to call if you do not have access to a computer. We're trying to contact, again, it's 2.6 million basic STAR recipients. There's been a lot in the news. I'm sure there'll be more in the coming months just to try to get everybody registered. We've got press releases, posters. I learned what a palm card was because we even created palm cards. I didn't know what a palm card was. You guys would all know that.
Yeah.
You have a lot of those, I'm sure. The only thing that the last thing it says is, please print the certification page, just in case it's a new program. Nobody's, we haven't done the registration thing again. You want to make sure you've got something in writing that shows that it's been done. So again, www.taxny.gov. It's a pretty easy website to get to, and it's right there on the front in a big box that says register for STAR.
Steve, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Presentation done? Everybody
Yeah, it was
understand?
easy.
Okay, got to go out now and tell everybody.
Well, it's just for when they ask you questions, at
Yeah,
least you've heard the information. And I was commenting, I have a whole lot of those in my yard, and the bees really do love them.
See?
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. You have in your folders the approved minutes from the last cycle. There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold the public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Madam Clerk.
Would the following 3 people please come forward to address the body? Each speaker will have 2 minutes, and we ask that you conclude your remarks when the timer sounds. And we thank you once again for your cooperation. Our first 3 speakers will be Diane Rivia, to be followed by Susan O'Kelly and Mary Ellen Blanchard. Please come forward. And please state your name when you approach the lectern. Okay, the R is missing. It is correct. Do you have some handouts? Thank you. Right here. Hi.
Diane Rivera.
Okay, thank you.
Can you speak now? Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Diane Rivera. I volunteer for Another Chance Pet Rescue. I care for orphaned and abused animals while attempting to place them in safe, loving, forever homes. When adopting out an animal during our adoption process, we make every attempt to verify the animal is being adopted to a good owner and home. Regrettably, the tools available to us are limited. Therefore, adding the ability to check an animal abuser registry will provide us with an essential measure in the process of finding a suitable home for the animal. I am aware that there is a proposed bill for a statewide registry. However, it is clearly limited, whereas it is only for those found guilty of aggravated cruelty to animals, Section 353A, which is a felony. Unfortunately, most cruelty cases are not convicted at the felony level. Quite often, those charged with a felony aggravated animal cruelty get their cases pled down to 353, which is a misdemeanor. 353 is not covered under the proposed statewide bill. Also, the proposed registry states that intent or serious physical injury against a companion animal, which, for instance, does not mean that it covers a pot-bellied pig, miniature horse, or a goat, etc. Also, that statewide proposed registry would not apply to a stray or feral cat. So in other words, the stray baby kitten that was shot that I fostered is not applicable to the statewide registry. Or what about Toby, another stray that I cared for that had been severely beaten and soon after succumbed to its horrific injuries and died? What about the two strays that were tortured and had their legs amputated? Because they were strays, they are not covered under the proposed statewide registry. Also, there is no mention of what happens to those who fail to provide food, water, shelter, vet care, or abandon an animal and cause them serious injury or illness. I give my heart and soul to when caring for these animals I foster. I need every available tool to help make sure they're adopted to responsible individuals. We need you to vote yes to the proposed local animal abuser registry. Voting no is clearly stating that you would want an animal to be placed in a home with a previous abuser. Also, and equally important, wouldn't you like to be aware if that type of person was your neighbor? If I may, I thank you in advance for doing the right thing. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan O'Kelly. I'm here tonight to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. I'm the voice of abused animals. Animal abuse has reached epidemic proportions in Monroe County, with over 1,200 cases being reported by Lollipop Farm alone. More and more people are stepping up and reporting abuse when they witness it. An animal abuse registry would put names of abusers in the public domain. They could no longer hide in anonymity. It doesn't take rocket science to know that such a registry is needed. It would be a step forward in hampering the abuser to be able to abuse again. Right now, animals are acquired from breeders, Craigslist, pet stores, and other sources because there is no record to out these people. An abuser registry would make it more difficult to perpetuate crimes against these animals. It would afford people an opportunity to refuse to be a party to abuse. Indeed, a registry signed into law would require people to check it before any transaction could take place. Presently, there are several counties in New York State with animal abuser registries. They are successful and self-supporting. Do not defer this important work to New York State while they dither about passing such a law. Do not let politics or other agenda keep you from doing what you know to be the right thing to do. Support an animal abuser registry in Monroe County and help stem the suffering of your voiceless constituents. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mary Ellen Blanchard. I know that we've already heard that the New York State Senate has already passed a referendum to support an animal registry of this nature, but telling me that it's going to happen sooner or later is not good enough. As with anything worth fighting for, waiting is never a solution. Instead, I ask for decisive action in my county legislature that matches the words that were spoken last time we met. Mr. Howland, Mr. Rockow, and others spoke at length about their work with animal advocacy in different organizations and the love and respect they have for their own rescue pets. At that moment, I was encouraged to learn that some of my public officials share the same love and understanding of the significant role that pets play in our humanity. For a few moments, there was a feeling of community in these chambers. Mr. Howland, when you expressed your love for animals, I was so happy because it matched my own beliefs. The big difference is my individual actions are nice, but they do not affect change in the larger issue of animal abuse. Not one thing I do can equal the power of one vote supporting this registry. Mr. Howland, Mr. Rockow, if you spoke sincerely about your concern for animals, how can your votes demonstrate otherwise? Gentlemen, you and I both know that only votes affect change and only humane legislation protects animals. Waiting for Albany to act does not affect Monroe County animal abuse. Show the state that we are serious about protecting animals in Monroe County. We put our words with our actions. In the words of Atticus Finch, one of the greatest humanitarians in American literature, gentlemen, do your duty.
Our next three speakers will be Julie Lafferty, Nancy B.B. Meyer, and Kristen Negron. Please come forward. Just go right to the podium. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Julie Lafferty. I am the president of Another Chance Pet Rescue. The last time I stood before you, I pleaded for this registry to be used as a tool to help us that rescue and adopt out animals we save from despair, neglect, abuse, and imminent death. I presented many cases to you, including Parker, a 4-month-old kitten who was adopted at our city animal control, returned less than a month later, extremely emaciated, with his left eyeball ruptured and protruding from his head from the neglect he experienced at the hands of his owner. We immediately took him to get him the urgent care he needed. He was deemed too weak of condition to undergo surgery to remove his eye. Less than 24 hours later, his eye exploded out of his head and the intraocular contents leaked out all over his foster mom. We rushed him to emergency where he underwent emergency surgery to save his life. After many thousands of dollars of medical bills and an excruciatingly painful recovery, the monster that did this to Parker has been arrested. He is a pedophile, a registered sex offender, and an all-over menace to society. Because animals don't matter like they should, he will not likely spend much time in jail, if any, for this, and will be free to get another animal anytime he wants. Since I last stood before you, we also rescued Toby, who you've likely seen all over the news. The 8-week-old kitten thrown against the outside of a building numerous times when a passerby stopped and took the kitten from the kids doing this and took it to animal control. I was immediately called to rescue that kitten as it needed urgent vet care. She suffered a broken femur, a broken diaphragm, and diaphragmatic hernia. Sadly, in spite of all our efforts, she did not make it. She struggled to breathe as her lungs filled with blood and choked her. Toby died. She mattered, and they all matter. Without this registry, we have no way to know if an abuser stands before us wanting one of our precious babies. I understand there is pending state registry. However, it is flawed. It would only hold the names of those convicted of aggravated animal cruelty, a felony. It would not account for the neglect and misdemeanor abuse animal charges, which is what most are convicted of, if convicted at all. It is nearly impossible to get someone convicted of felony animal cruelty. We must address this in our community at a local level and pass this registry so we can get this valued tool working for our animals. Please don't tell them that they don't matter. Please vote yes and let our animals know that you care who adopts them. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For over 25 years, I operated an underground battered women's shelter. The batterers had all abused, tortured, and killed animals. I personally knew 14 women who got murdered. The abusers had abused animals, they had tortured animals, they had killed animals. But the worst of all, what still haunts me, is I had a neighbor who, again, abused animals, killed animals. And then I heard, you killed Brenda, you killed Brenda. A little baby girl was murdered. What I'm talking about is mindset. And don't think that someone, what they do to an animal, they're not going to do it to a little baby, to a human. Please, please, take deep consideration and thought to this. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Negron, and today is my daughter's 12th birthday. And most children would rather be having a birthday party or eating birthday cake, but this animal abuse registry is important enough for her that she would rather be here to speak out for animals that can't speak for themselves. I've been working on a case of a dog that was murdered by its owner, and because of the mugshot that went up for Queenie, he's also indicted on felony rape charges. So this animal abuse registry is extremely important. And my daughter has something she'd like to read.
Animals do not have a voice. If you ignore their suffering, I will remind you of it. If you don't understand them, I will translate. If you don't hear them, I will be their voice. You may silence them, but you cannot silence me for as long as I live.
Our next two speakers will be Natalie Russo and Jamie Olson.
Hello, my name is Natalie Russo, and unlike most of the other speakers here tonight, I don't have anything prepared. Your attention would be greatly appreciated. I just have some questions for everybody in this room who's in the position to make decisions upon the request of the community. Why wouldn't this bill be passed? It makes absolute sense to pass this bill. When we talk about mindset, your community has come to you with a mindset of awareness, responsibility, conscientiousness to end the violence and to change this community for the future. And we have asked you to do this. So why is it so difficult? We're here, we will continue to come, and we will not give up. So the laws all around the state and the laws of this country are changing. And if dogs can go to Afghanistan and protect our soldiers, dogs in our homes protect our people. And these dogs need to be protected by people. Dogs, cats, horses, all animals, all living creatures should be respected with life. We should not take more than we need. Greed is a disease. It's a disease. And we have to pay respect to these living creatures that we share the earth with. Because it's only a matter of time, if we don't, that it won't be for anybody. So I ask you again, why is it so difficult to pass this? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jamie Olson, and I'm a graduate student here at the University of Rochester. I have had a personal experience with an animal that was a victim of animal cruelty. This past December, I adopted a cat. His name's Blue from Another Chance Pet Rescue. They had rescued him and another cat from an unthinkable situation. Blue had had his right hind foot cut off. The second cat had her entire right leg foot cut off. Blue was unable to walk. Blue was able to walk and run with a limp, but on a healed nub. The nub will become raw and cracked and occasionally requires medical attention. The vet has warned me that he will most likely develop bad arthritis in his hips due to the uneven gait as he ages. A lot of effort was put in to create a prosthetic to avoid the arthritis, but it's been painfully challenging. As unthinkable as those acts were against my cat, it's almost more unthinkable to think that the individual could be repeating this act now. Without this local registry, Monroe County continues to say it's okay for previous abusers to abuse again. I know this registry won't stop animal abuse completely, but it still is a small step towards stopping cruelty. So I ask, why do nothing? Please vote yes. Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
At this time, we'll recess the September 10th, 2013 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature and convene the Pure Waters Administration Board for the Gates, Chili, Ogden Sewer District and the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District. The clerk will please note the attendance and read the first item on the agenda.
PWAB 1, Referral 13-252, authorizing contracts.
It is moved by Legislator Daniele. It is seconded by Legislator Jolovich. This is a motion to adopt. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
PWAB 2, Referral 13-255, authorizing contracts.
Moved by Legislator Daniele, seconded by Legislator Jolovich. This is also a motion to adopt. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. We will now recess the Gates, Chili, Ogden Sewer District and the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District and adjourn the Pure Waters Administration Board. The September 10th, 2013 meeting of the legislature is now reconvened. We will now proceed with the considerations of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk please read the next item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 13-253BR, resolution.
Moved by legislator Daniele, second by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 2, referral 13-253, authorizing contracts with Keeler.
Moved by legislator Daniele, second by legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 3,
Let's hit the number on it.
referral 13-250BR.
Moved by legislator Boyce, second by legislators Daniele and Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 4, referral 13-250, amending resolution.
Moved by legislator Boyce, second by legislator Daniele and legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item.
Item number 5, referral 13-241, authorizing intermunicipal agreement.
Moved by legislator Boyce, second by legislators Hannah and Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Legislator Lightfoot.
I stand to make a motion, Mr. President. I would like to make a motion that I believe is timely. We made several adjustments to our proposal to create an animal abuse registry to accommodate the Republicans. We've changed various things that have been asked by the Republicans. Yes, sir.
I need a reason for why you're standing.
I'm standing to make a motion, sir.
A motion to?
I want to discuss my motion to you, what I'm trying to do. We've made changes to the animal abuse registry that we'd like to present to you, Mr. President.
Point of order. I've got your point of order. You need to state what your motion is.
To the point of order.
Yes.
To the point of order, Mr. Legislator Lightfoot's explaining his motion, and I think I would
I
ask you
would like to know
allow
what
him
the
a little-
action is first,
a
and
little
then he can
discretion.
state what he has. What's the action that he's
Then he'll be
looking for
given
from this
time to
body?
speak.
I would like to know what the legislator is looking to
Well,
do.
and he's
okay?
going to
So
do
I
that.
I'm ruling with the favor of the point of order. I need you to give us what you're trying to do to the legislature at this point. You've risen, and you should state why you want to speak on the floor.
Mr. President, thank you again for acknowledging me. I'm in accordance with Section 545/32 of our rules. I move, Mr. President, to suspend the rules to consider a revision that we have made for the animal abuse registry proposal, Mr. President.
Thank you. Do you have a second on that? Seconded by legislator Morelli in the back. At this time, we have a motion to suspend the rules. Move to a roll call vote.
Mr. President,
That's it.
I plead to you, may I speak to my
Not
motion,
at this
sir?
time. We're going to talk about we're going to get a suspension, we're going to suspend the motion. That's what you're going to be voting on, and then we'll move forward. Thank you. Roll call vote.
Mr. Tucciarello? No. Ms. Andrews? Yes. Mr. Ansello? No. Mr. Antelli? No. Mr. Barker? No. Mr. Baroth? Yes. Ms. Boyce? No. Dr. Carbone? No. Mr. Colby? No. Mr. Daniele? No. Mrs. Draw? No. Mr. Gamble? Yes. Mr. Gamina? No. Mr. Haney? Yes. Mr. Hanna? No. Mr. Holland? No. Ms. Kaylee? Yes. Mr. John Lightfoot is excused. Mr. Willie Lightfoot? Yes, Mr. McCann? No. Mr. Michike? No. Mr. Morelli? Yes. Mr. Patterson is excused. Dr. Quattro? No. Mr. Rocco? No. Mrs. Valerio? No. Mr. Wilcox? Yes. Mr. Yolovich? No. President Adair?
No.
8 to 19, motion to suspend the rules fails.
Back to the agenda now. We're on item number 6. Will the clerk please call?
Item number 6, referral 13-242, authorizing intermunicipal agreement with...
Moved by legislator Boyce, second by legislators Hannah and Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item. Yes.
I rise to move that we move the agenda, the remainder of the.
Items number 7
Number
through
6 through number
16. Do I have a second on that? Item number 7 through item number 16. Okay. I have a motion to move the rest of the agenda by legislator Tucciarella, second by legislator Andrews. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Is there any unfinished business to come before this body tonight? Seeing none, legislator Tucciarella.
Mr. President, we stand adjourned until 6 p.m. Tuesday, October 8th, 2013. Thank you very much.